What I love about what is essentially a calm before the storm episode, which is really what episode 7 of The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic was, is how it brings up some worrying thoughts while still giving that heroic urge to succeed and do what's necessary and make sure no one falls behind. But at the end of the day, even if that happens the first time, it may not happen the second time. And what I mean is, Usato as a character, he has that drive, like a good MC would in a show like this. I want to keep everyone alive. It's a good goal to have. But the idea of Rose and what she was saying in the final few minutes of this week's episode is how, listen, be smart. You are a frontline healer. You don't go out when everyone does, because why would you send a healer out when no one needs to be healed yet? Don't heal minor wounds. Don't go after someone. There's so many little things you have to think about in this position because they have minor injuries, you don't want to get in the way. What about the enemies? And the thing about it is it's kind of like a read between the lines situation. And when you consider how last week ended with this premonition of both of our other two heroes dead or dying in terms of this big war, at the end of the day, there's gonna be moments, and they could pop up sooner rather than later, where there's going to be points where he can't save everyone. Now, they might write it in a way that if there's multiple characters, like especially if both heroes, both of his friends, are dying down for the count, and there's an enemy approaching, he'll fight the enemy for them. It's possible we'll have situations like that, but it's bigger than just that storyline there. It's the number of people who he'll have to look at. There's only so many healers, and you have to understand that at the end of the day, there's going to be a moral line drawn. And I think it comes back to the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. There's going to be soldiers who are objectively less important than commanders or stronger warriors. And if both of those characters are down and dying, it's clear who you should go for. The one who's going to aid the most and save the most lives. But morally, it's going to crush a guy, especially like Usato, who wants to save everyone. Now, they are clearly trying to establish he has the drive, and he might end up being a healer in a way that, like, if it comes down to it, he'll just fight for the army until other healers can do it. It's possible, but long term, how realistic can that happen? And I think we are going to see some points where he's visibly defeated, and this will be his first battle, and I don't know if everyone can be saved, but right now anyway, it feels like even if a lot of the major players make it out, even though for us, it's not going to make us shed a tear that some random knight isn't going home to his family, it's all about how it is directed about the characters, and I think Usato's the type of guy that it's going to absolutely heartbreak him. Now, I have a full live reaction episode 7 of The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic over on my Patreon, so if you want to see my full length of thoughts as we watch today's episode, it's over there if you're interested. I mean, I know I saw some people last week talk about how, like, you know, it's a little slow right now, not a lot's happening. I imagine those same people would probably say that about this episode. I personally appreciate a show that literally, especially with the fantasy genre, even beyond just simple isekai, like the fantasy genre, even if the source material has episodes and content like this, usually the anime does rush in, like, okay, we don't want to make the viewers grow bored, they want to see magic, they want to see titties, they want to see this or that, and then The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic says, hey, we'll take damn near a month without anything truly explosive happening. There's some bigger moments, but at the end of the day, this is all about training a guy who was dragged into a world that he didn't choose, didn't want to be a part of, wasn't even supposed to be summoned for, and why he's kind of feeling like the hero they need at the end of the day. This is a really, really solid isekai, top to bottom. Constantly I compliment the production. It looks beautiful to look at. The voice actors continue to blow me away, but the star attraction is actually the character writing, because when you throw these three characters into what is a Shield Hero-esque world, every red flag should be going off. Shitty king, probably shitty rulers all across the board. At least one of these three characters is gonna infuriate you, and there's just bound to be a bunch of cliches. Honestly, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. One of the best kings I have seen in anime in years. 100%. Usually when it comes to isekai rulers, you look at the daughter or the son or hell, the main character, and say, if you just killed them and put them on the throne, things are going to work out better. I don't believe that at all. From the very first episode, I was hyping the king up because he literally tried to hook our boy Usato up. He said, bro, you are about to get dragged into the pits of hell named Rose. Go live in the countryside. Shut your mouth and go live. He was trying to hook him up. He felt guilty about he felt guilty about forcing the two characters he wanted to summon, but he needed their help. He seemed like a guy who got shit done, and when you hear that speech that he's giving the army, this looks bad, this looks like this, but don't worry, we have an army without fear. He feels like a damn good ruler. They would legitimately be in a shittier situation if that king was to die. You don't feel like there's someone better suited for the throne. That type of stuff is worth pointing out because a lot of fantasy anime try to make you just infuriated by the rulers, and eventually it gets a little boring when every damn ruler is just shitty. Like, I legitimately think he is an amazing king, and honestly one of the most underappreciated characters because the scenes he's in, he feels like he fits his role so well. But most importantly, all three central characters are needed. It's interesting because they feel like three very different style characters all within one anime. Like, when you look at Usato, he seems kind of like a grounded middleman. He has a lot of comedy, a lot of freak out character reactions, but he also has a grounded personality of being a morally true and good person. Our girl is a goddamn meme. She's foaming at the mouth at the thought of fighting an isekai army. She is the comedy direction. She's the type of shit you expect in an Eminence in Shadow or anything like that. And then you have our boy Kazuki, who, honestly, from the first episode, I said was the most logical and level-headed out of the three. And his noble righteousness and his fear, the vulnerability he feels of the position he's in doesn't give him a big head that he can go and do anything. He's legitimately terrified to fight an army because that's how most people should be put in his situation. By having these three very different characters, you have the ability to go completely silly with the show, completely serious with the show, and striking that nice middle ground back and forth without letting any one style last for too long. We ended last week with him absolutely petrified of the vision of his friends dying. And pretty quickly, there's some goofy moments afterwards, especially with Rose when she grabs him by the head like Kingpin does to Spider-Man. And over the course of the episode, he freaks out about it, he worries, he's staying up late at night. We get that great emotional conversation between the true OTP of the show, which is bros wanting to be more than bros, at least that's probably how the princess is viewing it. I love the fact that there's just so many different styles, and while yes, maybe on paper, nothing explosive happens in an episode like this, but if you remove an episode like this, the oncoming battle doesn't really feel like anything other than, oh yeah, a bunch of mindless soldiers are probably going to die and we're going to see our heroes do something cool. Yeah, there's the potential or some of our main characters could die given the vision, but it is what it is. But you add in episodes like these and you give that build up, you give that preparation, and you get to know these characters on a personal level, and then you get to start asking questions that the anime maybe isn't necessarily telling you to ask, but when you start reading between the lines and you see what Rose is saying to Usato about making sure he's careful about who he saves, you start realizing how shitty of a situation this is about to be for a guy who really wants to change the way things are done, but at the same time, war is hell and there's going to be a lot of casualties and a lot of people he can't save. And if he gets put into a situation where he has to pick between not only just an average family man begging for his life and a soldier who is objectively going to be more useful for the battle, I mean, that's going to be hard enough. Add in his friends and him not being able to save. Yeah, he'll probably try to fight for them, you know, fight the enemy and do what he can, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of hard dilemmas that will pop up, and even if he succeeds, it's going to be emotionally draining. I mean, I'm sure there'll still be people saying, oh, you just like shitty isekai because it's so this or that. It doesn't matter how much you explain why the writing is actually pretty damn solid in this show. People will be people, but that's how I'm feeling anyway. Let me know what you thought of this week's episode down below. How excited are you for the oncoming war, and how terrified are you? Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell, and like I mentioned, we have a full live reaction over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we have Edvar, Golden Angel 1517, Ulcerin, Rion, and Thrilled Axis 709. I appreciate the support, so please take care. Have a good one.